ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Black Tower Podcast, a Wheel of Time podcast. Today, I am your host, Daniel, your Amen Khan Mahale.
And today only, along with the rest of my conceivable lifetime, I am Andrew, your Bajan Mahal. I already see the question. The hot sauce Mahal, also known as Josh or Soravan Mahal. So Daniel and I, we had to cancel kind of last minute yesterday on recording because of personal life stuff. And Josh had already said that he wouldn't be available today, but he was fine with us going ahead and doing the episode today so that we didn't have a bye week when we didn't need to. So
he is here as moral support in our hearts, and we miss him dearly.
We put something extra in his new hot sauce, so he's glued to the little Asha'man's room. No clue what he's doing, but he let us know yesterday that he wouldn't be able to do today, but gave his blessing for us to still do an episode. So
yep. Oh God, is his homemade hot sauce what we're going to be doing for Taste the Taint?
I don't think so. Well, he said it's not even that hot, that it's like mainly or all jalapeno.
Oh, that's right. That is what he said.
No, he might be working on a concoction for us, or we might be doing something else, like one of the popular ones, like we did last time, Reaper Squeezins. You've also got Spontaneous Combustion, the Bomb, all kinds of stuff. If you've ever watched Hot Ones, they might just pick one from the top two if they ever change. Top 2 or 3, because I think the Bomb is always in there. The Bomb's supposed to be pretty hot, but I mean, so was Reaper Squeezins, and it was hot. But
oh my God,
I don't know if I don't like. The more and more I think about it, did I eat the chicken tender too fast to really get enough of the hot sauce on my tongue? Because it didn't really fuck with me too bad until like I rubbed my eye.
Dude, I remember that.
That was a fucking mistake. Like immediate regrets. Like all 26 or 27 letters in the alphabet.
It's 26.
Oh, immediate regrets of all 26 letters in the alphabet.
All right. Well, today we're going back to a well-loved topic that we are working our way through. But just to make sure that we don't have any troubles with people, would you like to slap on some protection?
Yeah. So for this episode of the Black Tower Podcast, if you have not read all the way through book 7 of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, I'm talking book 1 through book 7, of course, of which is named A Crown of Swords. Crown of Swords. If you haven't read all the way through that, you are at serious detrimental risk of being spoiled. We're not necessarily going to talk about things directly or intentionally from Eye of the World through the Shadow Rising. Probably Shadow Rising is a little bit of a recap, but pretty much everything we're talking about, the bulk of it's going to happen in Fires of Heaven, Lord of Chaos, and if we can get to it, A Crown of Swords. So with that, for those of you that the hint didn't already give it away, Daniel, what are we talking about? Or should I say, whom?
We are going back to our regularly scheduled program, talking about, I should say, the Lord of the Morning, the Lord of Chaos, the Dragon Reborn, Mr. Rand Althor. As
Randomus
many of
Althoris.
Indeed. As many
That's a scientific name.
it's
Dragonus Rebornius.
Yes, it's in its natural Latin.
Dragon Reboni 3 of us is his other scientific name.
That's the non-scientific name.
That's definitely the scientific name. Scientists would name him that if they had the option.
Only scientists now,
That's true.
Which would also name things, Oh God, I just saw a post not too long ago that was like, it was a really good thing that we had all of those scientists who were really like kind of lame, but also like really good for naming stuff back when all the dinosaurs were discovered. Because now you just know that if they discovered like the Brontosaurus or whatever, you would
Long
just have
neckiest
people.
boyus.
Well, it would be just like thick boy and whatnot, and
Uh,
you're just like, oh God, I hate it so much.
long neck boy.
Yeah, long neck boy.
Angry tiny arm boy with sharp teeth. Like the
uh
danger noodle.
yep.
All the different types of noodles.
Or the electric sea flap flap. That's one of my favorites. Oh man.
But
But yeah,
yeah,
as stated, we are in our longtime listeners of the Black Tower will know that here we do sort of long running segments. We try to keep them not crazy long running, but sometimes you just talk about a character who's giant in the story.
you have to get through all their bath scenes.
Right.
And that's why Elaine took 5 episodes. At least
Mention
Rand has a
every
decent
single one.
reason for being mini episodes. By
Well,
mini, I'm
and
hoping no more
Elaine-
than 5.
Again, Elaine was actually only 3, and at least 2 of her episodes were just giant tangents.
That's true.
But at the same time, again, we do like going to do character deep dives into some of our favorites, especially when they are in relationships with other characters, which we also like to talk about once we've sort of done each of the character deep dives on their own. And as you all probably who are caught up now know, we have made it through Elaine, we have made it through Men, we have made it through Avienda, and so now it is time for the dragon to be talked about, of the dragon riders. And so we are now 2 deep, and this is the 3rd one, so we'll get to cracking.
You can make an argument for the 4th, since 2 weeks ago we talked about the nature of Rand's madness. But that wasn't specifically a
True.
character deep dive, but we kind of talked about an aspect of Rand without doing it as part of the Rand trilogy, or not trilogy because it's going to be longer than that.
But the Rand deep dive. Yeah, I mean, again, as we've already stated, Rand is such a huge part of the story that we're trying to like avoid just doing a story synopsis, because that's a little boring, and we've already done all of our book reviews.
Overview, man. We don't do synopsis on the Black Tower.
True. But you know, again, he's such.
We don't need them their
of...
fancy learned words. It's got dang overview. This is the Spark Notes version. Shit goes crazy, shit gets clean, shit gets dirty, and people die.
People die.
It's like the fair in the West. People die at the fair.
I mean, hashtag true. But yeah, so we are now in part 3. We've done so many episodes that have been Rand centric in the past, and I'm sure that we are not even done. Even once we go ahead and finish the deep dive into Rand, I can guarantee that there will be more. But without further ado, without further quantification, qualification, all of that different stuff,
we have none of the above.
Right. Let's
get
in there.
I'm excited because book 5 is my favorite book. It's also the book that we did the giveaway for the Dragonsworn tourney.
Correct.
But for those of you that didn't already know and couldn't surmise it from the many times I've said it, book 5, expressly chapter 31, is my favorite moment of the series. And not for the nasty, pervy reasons you think.
I mean, also for those.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's good, but I don't know. The section I remember reading, I hadn't found, like, I didn't see it again in my reread, but I read it online somewhere. I can't remember what website it was on. Maybe it was a fanfic. I don't know. There's a lot of those. Rule 34 exists in all ages.
It's true. Oh God.
I actually haven't read anything
that's going to
like
exist
that
after this series comes out.
I actually haven't read anything like that. Not about this. I did accidentally read like the first 2 paragraphs of one about Rand and Men in a pond, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this.
Isn't that actually in the book?
Uh,
Or at least, sorry, the
maybe the
beginning
detail
of
light
that.
version is.
Yeah, I was gonna
The
say
detail light version,
because if I
maybe.
remember correctly, there is in one of these books here after Rand. Yeah, it's one of these books. So after Rand messes around with Min, or actually, I think before he actually,
it's in book 4.
Yeah. It is
Yeah,
because
because he's like daydreaming about all 3 of his lovers, and then
he's like,
Lanfear
oh,
like shows up.
Why I'm so terrible? Let me flog myself. Like, and you're just like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Because Lanfear shows up and totally swats him.
Yep, indeed.
Don't you just hate that when like your ex-girlfriend from your past lives shows up and ruins your wet dream?
I've never had that happen.
Oh, dude. You need to get in touch with your third eye. And I don't mean the one below the waist.
Last time I got in touch with my third eye, I blew some shit up.
Okay, Combustion Man.
Yes! He got the reference.
Of course. Of course.
So
You say Combustion Man? Well, that's not his name, but yeah.
I'm going through so I had watched Avatar The Last Airbender when it was actually out on TV. Yep. I may or may not have missed like an episode here or there in the series, but like while it was on television I watched it, and then I watched the very first season of Korra, and then caught a few episodes later on in season 2, 3, and 4, but did not watch anywhere near religiously. And so now that Legend of Korra is out on Netflix, I rewatched all of Avatar The Last Airbender to make sure that I actually caught any episodes that I had missed, as well as just reminding myself of all of the stuff that was important. And then watched Legend of Korra, and I am now just started. I'm like 3 episodes into season 4. And holy shit, those shows were good.
Yeah.
They're also a goddamn mess. I don't
Avatar
actually
The Last
remember
really
them being so fucking messed up.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got older, and now we can appreciate the more nuanced aspects of it.
No, it's true. And again, my roommate and I have just been noticing just how much like legitimately horrible stuff like happens off screen, and they just don't show you. And so again, it's a kids show, so they're like, again, we're not going to show you what's happening. We're not going to like overtly make it a part of what's happening because it's a kids show. But if you're smart enough and old enough to put 2 and 2 together, you know horrible stuff is happening on screen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you see some, like, horrible stuff, but it's not really portrayed expressly horrible for you. Like, in it, like, what is it, like, within the first, like, 8 episodes is whenever Aang goes back to one of the, like, the Northern Air Temple, I think, or the Southern Air Temple.
No, it's the Northern Air Temple, and he just finds everybody fucking dead. Yeah.
No, he doesn't find anybody. The only person he finds is like his idol, his mentor, like just as a skeleton in the Avatar chamber.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
There's
finds everybody dead.
Oh yeah. I mean, he finds all the Fire Nation soldiers there, and like most of the time when you're watching it, it's like, okay, yeah, dead Fire Nation, that makes sense. There was a fight, but it's like, no. This happened during Sozin's comment. These were full strength, and there are bodies stacked on bodies, stacked on bodies. Dude was a badass.
Yep. No, it's oh man. Anyway,
Rand is not in Avatar: The Last Bender. Not in this age.
Nope.
But maybe that was their representation of the dragon.
Fire, water, earth, and air.
In addition to spirit. He gets an extra element.
Well,
no, it's not even extra because the Avatar has spirit as well.
Yeah, so. No, exactly. Everybody in the Wheel of Time is the Avatar.
So is the Avatar just an anime adaptation of what happens for the dragon then? Like in an age where it's just rampant war, but the Dark One is sealed, but they need the dragon to show up and quell the fighting? like
Yeah, no,
Lugia.
exactly. Vatu is caged in the spirit world.
Yeah, that's true. Isn't that the face stealer?
No, that's I don't remember what the face stealer's name is off the top of my head because he only shows up once, which is a
That's true.
mistake. I really wish that he also showed up in Korra, and he could in season 4. I haven't actually seen it, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But Vatu is so. Rava and Vatu are the good
Oh
spirit and the
yeah.
bad spirit that are like locked in constant war.
Mm.
And Rava is the one that is melded, if you will, with the avatar that makes the avatar the avatar.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Because you learned that you learned that in Legend of Korra. You don't really learn it in Avatar: Last Airbender.
Correct. Well, and again, it's one of those things where I'm going to preface this with I like Robert Jordan so much. He's one of the greatest. But there's also a certain like if you just read the first 3 books and then you keep going, there are things that feel like they're not nearly fleshed out in books 1 and 2 that like later get fully explained, but it feels like he just was like, all right, cool, now in book 6 I'm gonna tell you how things actually work from book 1, but I didn't know how they worked in book 1. And that's exactly how like the first Avatar story happens in Korra. They didn't know that in the last Airbender when they were writing it and when they were like doing the thing. They totally just retconned that.
So Daniel and I have made the executive decision without Josh that because much like commenters on Nablus' video pointed out, we feel embarrassed about making those buku bucks, air quotes there, because I know you guys can't see it, but air quotes there, off of Robert Jordan's estate. So now we're the Black Tower podcast and Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast. So
Correct.
We're going to cash in on somebody else's estate so we can get a whole whopping $1.25 from some random person that clicks the wrong button by accident.
Yes.
But,
click the wrong button. Excellent. Excellent.
Have to click many wrong buttons to accidentally send us money.
Right. But
enough to where in court you can argue it's not an accident.
Exactly.
Anyway, book 5, published October 15th, 1993.
Yavin.
Exactly 3 months after I was born, Fires of Heaven was published or released.
Wow.
Exactly 3 months. So
I didn't actually realize you were that much younger than I am. I mean, it's not a ton, but I was born the year Eye of the World came out. 1991. Just
oh, thank you. I was about to be like, let me click a couple buttons here real quick.
Yeah.
Guys,
and again,
I'm
I mean, like
27.
you're not significantly younger or anything, but it is definitely like that's 4 books. That is 4 books.
At this point, like at 27, it's a 50-50 shot of people that are like either stupidly younger than me, slightly younger than me, or are just older than me. Like it's never like it's so commonplace. I mean, I feel like that was the dumbest statement I've ever made. Of course, there's people that are older and younger
That was
than me.
not
but
the
like,
dumbest statement you've ever. Sorry, that's not the dumbest statement ever. It might be the dumbest statement you've ever made, but it's not that dumb.
It's not. Anyway, Fires of Heaven. So we take and there's still the threat of the Shido.
Holy shit. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Just real quick. For anybody at home who was like me and definitely thought that, again, the fact that Eye of the World and Fires of Heaven are 4 books apart, that they should have had a way wider release time. They are only two years apart. Oh, actually, that's not true. Technically, the Wheel of Time is 1990. My copy says 1991, but technically, according to the internets, I was born a year after the Eye of the World. which is why it's actually
So
reasonably less time than I think it is between the two. Anyway, Fires of Heaven.
yeah, my internet is struggling to keep up. My internet's acting like it's from like the Sixth Age or some shit, the Stone Age, whichever one that one is.
Is it
All
the
right.
Queen?
So it's stabilized again.
Is it the Queen of the
Yeah.
Stone Age? But anyway, we just finished with Shadow Rising.
Brief summary.
Yes,
Yeah.
we just finished with the Shadow Rising.
Brief summary,
Rand
overall,
had fucked
Fires of
up
Heaven.
the Aiel.
Rand and Matt are working on dealing with
what? With what?
Oh, sorry. Like I can't tell what point in the conversation we are because I was talking and you were talking not about the same thing at all, and my internet is just deciding to be an absolute cock nugget. So don't ask me what that is. But
I know
like,
exactly what a cock nugget is.
I have no idea why I'm having these kind of trouble. I've never had this much trouble with the internet. Like very occasionally, but not like religiously every fucking day. Like even on my phone, like there's shit that won't load now on the the Wi-Fi here, and I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Oh, that is weird.
It's like legit like starting to piss me the fuck off. Like anyway. So sorry, you were going back to the last book. I was going ahead with a short summary of the book we're on, because we talked about the last book enough in the episode. We talked about it, and we've gone on enough tangents where I don't want.
Yeah,
us
I was
to be
just going to say
to
that
get through.
Rand had broken the Aiel, and we are now dealing with the fallout of that.
Yeah. So, Fires of Heaven, overall short overview of the entire book. Rand and Matt are working on how to deal with the Shido IL, who by all means and popular opinion are traitors to the IL, while also trying to get that taken care of. They're planning an offensive against the Forsaken Ravine. Nynaeve and Elaine are running around trying to not get caught with their pantaloons around their ankles by Mogideon, or Muggy Dean, however you want to say her name.
Muggy Dean.
By this time, Suan and I know I'm not going to say it right because I can't remember, but Lyanna have been deposed and stilled. They have not been disposed of, though, and a new Amyrlin has been appointed or risen or voted on or elected or whatever the fuck bullshit you want to call it. There's more shade in that election than Russia underneath the biggest tree in the world.
Ooh.
But
damn.
Elida is now the Amyrlin, and Aes Sedai are split by the events that have happened. There's a bunch of quote unquote rogue rebel Aes Sedai, which really doesn't need to be quote unquote because that's technically what they are. You're rebelling against the initial core establishment. You are technically a rebel. Just rebel's not always a bad thing. Look at Star Wars Rebel. It was all right.
Rude.
So they're starting to get all their stuff together and start prepping for war against the actual White Tower and Tar Valon. So that's pretty much the overview. It leaves out the most important event of the entire series, of course, that happens in a snowy landscape, but we'll get there. And Lan's not so short spear and the shorter spear that he gets as a consequence of what happens. So, look, I'm giving your boy the benefit of the doubt. With a nickname like Randy, he's got to be pulling some Austin Powers style Shaggy Wire moves.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
He was a farm boy. He's got to be used to wrestling and rope. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but we're gonna.
I don't know where you're going with that either. But yes, you also glossed over a couple of super important events to us, which is the bringing in of Mazrim Taim into the Dragon service and the starting of the Black Tower. but that's also okay. Actually,
That was a weird glitch in the internet. Because it made it sound like you said the start of the bukkake. And I was like, what?
Yeah, not
like,
that.
I know that's not what you said.
Black Tower. The Black Tower.
See, I guess my internet is now Randy. We've said Randy too much.
I mean, yeah.
Good for you, internet. Get what you got to get. Do what you got to do.
But yeah, so it's actually... Am I a book late? Or am I...
I don't know. We
Black
should be
Tower...
in Fires of Heaven right now.
Yeah, the Black Tower is
Black
started
Tower
in Fires of Heaven. I think so. Because the greatest scene in all of the entire books is the next one, but I'm pretty sure he actually starts it a book before. I could be wrong.
I'm not so sure. I think that might be the next book.
Maybe.
Is it in Lord of Chaos?
Let me look it up. Ba-ba-da.
We should know this.
Yep, no, he's definitely in the... It's definitely the next book. I'm an idiot. I'm just a dumbass.
It happened. That's right, because it's chapter 42.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, it's before chapter 42 that it's established.
Chapter 42 is Dumai's Wells. But
no, chapter 42 of Lord of Chaos is whenever Rand invites men to go with him to the farm.
Oh, is it? I don't know. Because the very end of Lord of Chaos is Dumai's Wells.
Yeah.
But earlier on in the book, it really is just one book. Anyway, the point of this is to get through a relatively
too much
quick
wine.
overview.
We don't remember our own history.
I know it does. It's horrible. But yeah, so those are basically the biggest events for Rand in Fires of Heaven. He does obviously so much other stuff with Rogue Aes Sedai and Aes Sedai that meet him from the tower and different things like that. But it is not until we hit Lord of Chaos, which is the next book that we will be talking about Rand in, that shit hits the fan. Because, of course, during that entire book is when he's basically running around the world a little bit. Or, sorry, not running around the world, but running back and forth between Caemlyn and Cairhien pretty significantly. And he's meeting with the Tower sisters in Cairhien and the Rebel Aes Sedai sisters in Caemlyn. And that gets real bad real fast because neither of them want to follow the fucking rules. And that is when we get things that we've talked about so many times before. Our favorite scenes, the box, all of those fantastic, wonderful additions to the story. Rand's horrifying trauma that he goes through. And of course, that is the book Lord of Chaos, where the Black Tower is established, which we talked about a lot last week as far as what that means for the series. And also, what that means for Rand himself, and what sets, Mazrim Taim down the path that he goes as well. It is also the first time at the end of the book where we legitimately see Aes Sedai swear fealty to the Lord Dragon for thousands upon thousands of years.
We just jumped the Lord of Chaos?
We did.
We didn't talk anything about Fires of Heaven?
No, you just went over Fires of Heaven.
Yeah, very brief overview. We got to talk about the sex igloo.
No, we don't. We've talked about that so many times.
Every episode needs to have a sex igloo.
No, I'm done with the sex igloo. I mean, like, I'm
dicks
not.
Her down. He
not.
dicks her down.
Oh my God, she dicks him down.
They dick each other down.
Yes.
It's a very dynamic, very open-minded relationship.
Very progressive dicking.
If you guys haven't chapter 31, Fires of Heaven. Read it as many times as there are pages in 50 Shades of Grey. It'll be infinitely better.
I mean, yeah. What you say is not incorrect, but just because what you say is not incorrect does not mean that stuff needs to happen.
Are you pulling a just the ability to speak does not make you intelligent argument on me right now?
No, because then I would have been Liam Neeson.
All right, that's fair. All right, but yeah. So, Lord of Chaos. Because do we clarify like when it is that like the Black Tower starts forming? Because it's like I forgot how early on it is. It's because it starts in chapter 2.
Yes, it's right at the beginning of the Lord of Chaos that it gets established. Because that's when Mazrim Taim shows up, and he's like, "Hey, buddy," and he's like, "Hey, come with me. You're doing this thing." And the
Well, it's weird because he was thinking about him before he showed up. He was like, Mazrim Taimi was a false dragon, and obviously he could channel, and he raised the whole army and ravaged all of Saldea. Huh. Okay.
Just like I ravaged Avienda.
Then speak of Shaitan, and Taim is like, your boy is here in Camelin.
And I have literally all the skills you're looking for in a establish the Black Tower guy.
Really sus. He'd be voted out first round in Among Us.
Probably. But yeah, so again, I just went over again a very brief overview of Rand's part of Lord of Chaos. The vast majority of it is him meeting with the sisters in the 2 different cities, getting very angry that they're not following the rules, thinking he's smarter than them and getting put in a box. And then getting carried in a box away from Kyrian, and then getting broken out of a box by his own self with the distraction of all of the things that are happening at Zumai's Wells.
That's a lesson for all folk. The second that you think that you've got people that have spent an entire lifetime learning how to manipulate people without actually lying, that's when you get put in a box. And we're not talking Lonely Island box. It's not going to end well for you. Like,
nope.
They're going to lock you in the box. They're going to pull you out to maybe hose you off.
Beat the shit out of you.
And beat the shit out of you.
Yep.
Because obviously your physical soreness affects your ability to channel. Well, I mean, it does. It affects your ability to concentrate.
Exactly.
But because as soon as you embrace the source, you're even more aware of how much everything fucking hurts. Which reminds me, people say like high sex is amazing. How good is sex when like both people are embracing Sidene and Sidair?
No, it's also weird because again, Rand also says that he's more aware of everything, but it feels like someone else's body. Because he actually does go ahead and like take hold of the power in like at many times during the series to basically get over the fact that he's hurt.
That's true. Oh yeah, because it makes him feel distant from his own body. Yeah, that's a good point for him.
So but, I don't know. I don't know how much of that you can choose. Like how much of that you can like is it you have the option
Rand. He can choose all of it.
More like being in tune with yourself and the world, or you can distance yourself from it, or is it a situation where it's actually just really
seems like it more
weird?
Like increases your awareness?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh God, now I'm just
thinking. Feels like it's just like because they always describe it like how aware you are.
Grab a hold of the power and then let's fuck. It'll feel like 2 strangers.
I mean, it's gonna make anal worse with that increased sense of smell.
Oh,
so.
Why?
There you go. I ruined it for you. You're welcome. There you go. There's that thought for you. There you go.
All right, guys, this has been a fun episode. I'm leaving now.
I definitely
dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow. Dishonor. Write this down, Cricky.
Oh, that mental thought bypassed any filter I had and just went straight out the mouth. It was uncontrollable.
Yeah.
But I controlled further comments from
touch.
that.
Yeah, we're not gonna touch the rest of that. Anyway, so cool.
That's generally the option I try
We
to
talk
go with.
about book 6 a lot in this podcast, so I feel like if you are a longtime listener, you already know what's up with the box and the Dumais Wells and the bitch ass Aes Sedai and the establishment of the Black Tower and all that, because a lot of that is really important to our history.
Fuck the power.
Right? So, if you are not a longtime listener, go back. We appreciate you. Listen to the previous episodes and you will be caught up. And then when you get here, you'll know all the things. But we're going to move on to book 7 so that this particular series does not take 5 episodes to get through. Or maybe it does, but it makes more sense.
You know, I kind of like this format where we like talk about what happens in the books in general, like a very brief overview of the books we're going to cover. And then it opens it up for the end of us to talk about like how Rand has changed and transformed over the books we're covering. I like this. Yep.
So let's pop into A Crown of Swords. This one we don't actually talk about that much here on the podcast. I know that there are some events that actually we've talked about a number of times, but this is not one that we like focus on that often. Because to be completely honest, like though there are some really cool things in this book, it does not. It's kind of like the book between Dumais Wells, which is dope, and then the next thing that Rand does, which is absolutely dope, which I will not say because we kind of talked about 7.
It. Like the analogy I've always used, or the way I've always described it, is each book has all this building stuff with sporadic action and stuff that happens into it to a climax somewhere near the end of the book. Maybe the last chapter, maybe 4 or 5 chapters before the end, stuff like that, always near the end of the book.
Yeah.
And then we know the series overall does that. And when you take into account the knowledge that initially RJ was only planning on doing 6 or 7 books, and then very, very quickly realized, fuck, I can't do that. We still have book 6 almost as like an ending of something of a climax thing.
Yes.
So you have all this setting up, all this coming up, and then a good chunk of stuff like happens, and you get this really big, really crazy action scene that just is supposed to, kind of put in perspective just what pure, unadulterated battle channeling would look like. Not just 1 or 2 channelers or even 5 channelers that are fighting with the power, but just this large force of, what was it, like 200 Asha'man, I think? 300 Asha'man that show up. And even that number against, like, 40,000 something Shadow IL? IL.
And not only that, again, you also have, 200 Asha'man. And at this point, I think Rand has actually, by the time they show up, Rand has actually eliminated basically all of the Aes Sedai channelers. But you still have all of the wise ones that are with Savannah that are still fucking
not all
shit
of them,
up.
because some of them get away. Some of them just like they
Sorry,
flee.
yes. He dispatches them,
but he dispatches a good chunk.
It's a combination of him actually legitimately being the one to take them out, and making the ones that he doesn't actually come up against run away, because they're all gone by the time that the Asha'man show up. Sorry, they're all no longer channeling by the time the Asha'man show up, whether that's because they are shielded and or unconscious because of Rand, or gone from the fight because they're like, nope, fuck this. There are no Aes Sedai that are channeling at the end of that particular
in his initial
fight.
breakout, doesn't he like immediately still like at least 2, but I think like it's 2 between 2 and 4. Is it only 2 that he
2.
stills?
Yeah, that he immediately stills coming out of the box.
Yeah. Out of the box. Out of the box.
But yeah.
I can see that, because they're like screaming that they've been stilled, it's gone, and it's fucking chaos. And they're dealing with being attacked by the Shido and all. It's absolute chaos. So yeah, I mean,
I
it's
actually
a
just love. I don't think we've actually talked about that much, but like just in the middle of a battle, there are just these Aes Sedai that are like, "What the fuck? What the? It's gone! I can't see. I've been stilled. What the fuck?" And like literally everybody around them is like, "Cool, yeah, we'll deal with that later. Shut the fuck up."
no, there is nothing more important than this right now. But I mean,
No, girl,
it's
there is
nuts.
so much more important right now.
Yeah,
It
it's
won't matter
nuts.
if you're stilled or not, if you're dead.
I mean, it's so nuts that you literally have to wait until the start of Crown of Swords for them to even start dealing with the aftermath of Demise Well.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's, hey, this is finished. Rand gives orders. Perrin pleads for him to stop. Rand goes full, like, they must learn. And
Learn today.
then it's like curtain. Like, it's a pretty good, it's not really a cliffhanger because you know they're going to fucking win. But you've already had
Well,
the.
I mean, you've been given all of the information to. I mean, Meat Grinder. They were never
Yeah.
gonna lose that fight.
They routed the IL. Like they not just like
the bravest
made the IL
force
break
in
away.
the entire world
They made them run away
starts
in
running
absolute
the
terror.
opposite direction. Yeah.
Yeah, people that can run as fast, if not faster, than horses, depending on the horse, are fleeing for their lives. The legendary battle culture.
Yep.
And parents like, please stop. Please stop. No, our friends are out there. And he's like, they must learn.
Rand,
I mean,
please. Stop it. Tell them to stop.
yeah. I mean, I think there's something to be said about that break there where because in most other books, something big happens and then we deal with at least the immediate after effects before the end of the book, and everything kind of calms down by the end of the book.
Typically.
Not in Lord of Chaos. Shit hit the fan, literally, and scene.
I will go against that a little bit because they do deal with the aftermath of the Aes Sedai.
Okay, that's fair.
Because he does make them kneel, and
that's
the
a very
kneel or be
aftermath.
Knelt happens.
I mean, in my mind, he's still just making sure the Aes Sedai threat is neutralized. Rand is still very much in battle mode.
I don't disagree. It is a small portion of aftermath dealing.
Yeah, but I mean, in comparison to what we see when Crown of Swords starts,
yeah, exactly.
And the descriptions there, like, you're already like, I can't wait to see how they do it in the TV show, and I really hope that if every other episode somehow gets rated PG-13, that episode just needs to be the sudden out of nowhere TVMA.
Oh yeah.
At least just that episode that covers Demise Wells and a bit of the aftermath.
I mean, honestly, I have a feeling that it's gonna be, it's just gonna be MA from the beginning. I don't think that Amazon really has any. I would be incredibly surprised if Amazon doesn't realize that changing the rating partway through the show is not going to be a great idea. Therefore, if they're actually going to do a number of events that happen later on in the series, they can't start with a lower rating and then go up later.
Yeah. And something that one of our live listeners brought to our attention, Terry Goodkind has passed.
Indeed.
So that is the author for The Children of Dara.
Correct.
Picks up immediately after the conclusion of the Sword of Truth series. I haven't read any of it, but when they're number one New York Times bestseller. So I'm sure they're absolutely fantastic. So sincerest condolences to the family and friends and fans of Terry Goodkind.
Indeed.
It's called Wheel of Time. What?
I don't know what that is.
I think there's a link somewhere here that I'm missing.
I can't put the pieces together for you.
Because all I said was I haven't read any, and I'm being told I have. It's the Wheel of Time.
That doesn't clear anything else up.
Anyway,
I'm
still drawing a blank on it. It's probably as soon as you like plain spell it out, I'll completely understand if it like a ditz for it, but because the name does sound at least vaguely familiar, and I've definitely heard of the Sword of Truth. So,
yep.
but not to make light of that, but to focus back on the episode. So, Crown of Swords starts off dealing with the more realistic aspect of the aftermath of something like Demise Wells. They're talking about going around making sure all the bodies are actually dead. They're talking about all the ravens that are there, feasting on the flesh of the dead. Just all kinds of absolute crazy shit. And as soon as they're ready to move again, Rand is like, well, this is done. I'm even more steeled, more resolved now. We need to take out Samael and Ilian.
Yeah, this whole book is basically him setting shit up to go do that.
Yeah. Because is it the attack on Ilian where Matt Avienda and a couple others get killed as soon as they show up?
No, that was the attack on Camelin.
That's right.
Because Ravi.
Okay, so yeah, that was Ravine.
Is the one who does that.
But Samael's been like a very present, but not necessarily front of focus Payne and Rand's side for a while. Because we find out from Moraine during the Dragon Reborn that Samael is the one that sent the Darkhounds.
Yes, that is her assertion.
Or her assumption. Yeah. Which, given how often Moraine is correct, I'm going to go ahead and believe that Moraine is correct.
Sure. Also, I mean, like, again, he sends Rand a messenger, I believe, actually, in either Fires of Heaven or Lord of Chaos. They apparently blur together a lot for me. But he sends a messenger which basically gives Rand a proposal for a truce.
That's right.
Between Samael and himself, or between Rand and Samael, I should say.
And it's like the manner of the messenger's death tells Samael the decision that Rand made.
Which is hilarious because, of course, then Samael goes to, Grandal and goes, I have a truce with the Dragon Reborn because blah, 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 blah. And you're like, You either misread the signs of how that particular messenger died, or something else went wrong, because that is not what Rand said at all.
Hey, sir, I feel like you forgot to read the book you published.
Right? It's definitely like Rand is standing there being like, I would never. You can burn in hell for all eternity, Samael. And then the messenger dies horribly, and Samael's sitting at home being like, excellent, he took my truce. And you're like, no, he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of super dope shit that happens in A Crown of Swords that doesn't necessarily, at least at the time, or in some cases, ever revolve around Rand. Like the discovery of the kin, figuring out how old they are, all that shit that mind fucks Elaine. Then they find out apparently all the Aes Sedai have, or the higher level Aes Sedai have always known. Yep. And even the kin are like, whoa. We get to see Mogideon pulled into...
There's something wrong with those sisters, Peggy.
Pulled into Shao Ghul by Shadar Haran. and we get to see the first mind trap that I think we actually see.
The Corsuver.
Yeah, the Corsuvra that seals her obedience to Moradin.
Yep.
So I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens.
Yes. Most of it not actually involving Rand, which is
Yeah.
actually one of the things that I actually kind of appreciate about sort of, what people call the slog.
He's only in 4 chapters.
Yeah,
No,
he's
5.
in very little of the books between Lord of Chaos and I want to say Crossroads of Twilight.
I'm going to take a guess and say that your books are off to your right.
They are.
It's not like I look at a list on the Wheel of Time wiki for what book is where.
Yeah, so he's actually pretty not absent. I mean, like, he's distinctly absent from Winter's Heart.
Until he's not.
No.
I said until he is not.
Is it Winter's Heart the one where he's like pretty much not in it at all?
No, he's got 13% of Winter's Heart POVs.
What about
it's the next
look up
one.
Crossroads of Twilight.
It's Crossroads of Twilight. I'm not seeing he gets 2.221% of Crossroads of Twilight.
There we go. So it's Crossroads of Twilight
where 24 he's just, and 83.
Like, fucking not in at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's the second book that he's like barely in at all.
Yeah. Because he does really cool, awesome, amazing stuff in Path of Daggers.
And yes, Winter's Heart is whenever Android shows up, but we're not at that book yet.
Yes, correct.
I like the way you put that. I feel like that's like an insult to like the Bard of Time if you call him Android. Like, you sound robotic. Like, you're a dick.
It was a typo.
Was it?
They fixed it.
Oh. I still think it was funny to call him the Android of Time.
Yep.
Not our Android.
We aren't there. We are in Crown of Swords.
Lord of Chaos, Crown of Swords.
Lord of Crown of Path of Daggers.
Lord of Crown of Eye of World Dragon.
But yeah, so this is definitely the one where he puts all of his shit together, and he wants, for example, Perrin to go down and fight Samael.
Is this where the staged fight happens?
Yes.
Is that a Crown of Swords?
That is Crown of Swords.
Very quickly for Rand, he forgets that it's supposed to be a staged fight, and if Perrin wasn't built like a fucking brick house, he might have broken Perrin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always been a little weird to me, though, because, like, Rand and Perrin don't really have a whole lot about the fight. Both of them actually talk about it a little bit, and Fael, like, gets angry at him later for not actually warning her that it's not real, if I remember correctly, once she figures it out.
Because she's all like, I'm going to stab the Dragon Reborn, the fate of humanity, because she hit my boo. Or
yeah.
Not she.
And Perrin's like, calm down, woman. And she's like,
planned.
Don't woman me. But
all right, listen here, Mandarb.
Oh man, you're not good enough steel to hit. Bringing it back around.
Oh,
it was not as good as the original, and I bow to the superior.
I still appreciate it.
But yeah, this is the fake fight, and then Perrin leaves to go do other things because he does not end up going down to fight Samael. It's actually Matt that ends up coming back. That ends up going down and pretending to fight Samael while Rand actually does. And this is where we actually get one of the really, 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 really important things for later, which is that in the ensuing fight with Samael, Samael has like the whole city of Ilion basically like spider webbed with power alerts and whatnot. So he knows
installed an alarm system.
Yeah. So he basically knows the second that Rand shows up and or starts channeling. And
They
you
kind of
have
bounce back and forth several times, different
yeah,
locations.
in the actual city. And
Yeah.
he's running around and doing whatever. And then Samael basically like had a plan to lure Rand to Shatter Logoth.
Correct.
And he ends up and so Rand follows him and ends up in Shatter Logoth. And he's running around and finds an Aiel that he thought was dead.
Yeah, the one of the women on his list, because he felt that they abandoned her
Which they did.
in Shadow Logoth. I mean, yeah, but
They had
you
to.
find out
they would have lost so much more if they hadn't. But yeah.
But you find out and I mean, it's kind of heart wrenching for Rand because she has survived all this time.
Yep. Which, of course, is one of those situations that kind of makes no sense, like how Ant-Man survived in the quantum realm. Like, what? Get the fuck out of here.
But it was only 4 minutes for him. Or 4 hours, however long it was.
Not.
That's what he said it was for him. Listen, you throw quantum in front of anything and it fixes any plot holes. Quantum Dragon Reborn. Bam. Every plot hole's fixed now.
Except that it was... okay. We're gonna not. Because even if that was said, which it actually very well may have, I don't remember that well, so I'm not saying you're wrong. Please don't take this as me saying you're wrong. But that flies in the face of how old fucking Wasp is when they go back for her.
Wasp was dusted.
No, but no, OG Wasp. They find her in the quantum realm in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And she's as old as Hank Pym.
That's true.
And so if it's less time in the quantum realm, then she should actually be significantly younger. But anyway, the point is not Avengers. The point is one of the more important things happen here is the crossing of the Balefire streams.
Yes.
Because Moradin shows up in Shatter Logoth, and
you don't know that it's Moradin yet.
Correct. Yeah, you do. With the reader does.
Don't.
The reader does.
I don't think
because we've seen him with the Korsuvra.
Do we see him in Shatter Logoth with the Korsuvra?
No. We see him earlier.
We see him earlier. We know he's a character, but there's nothing that. Please, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong.
Moradin.
I didn't think he even said a name. I thought he just said that he was a stranger.
No, in the scene that you see him where he now has Mogedian's Korsuvra, he tells her that his name is Moradin. He does not tell Rand what his name is when he shows up in Shadow Logoth. So Rand doesn't. But he absolutely does introduce himself to other people in the presence of the reader, and so the reader knows what his name is and who he is. Again, we don't know nearly the full significance of who he is or what he's doing until much later, but we do actually know who he is because the scene where he tells Mogedian who he is at the beginning of this book, if I remember correctly.
Because he runs into 4 Trollocs and a Fade and kills them with his 1 power sword. Samael attacks him again. He runs into a stadium and falls to the floor, and a hand grabs his deep voice and grabs his, and a deep voice says, "You're a fool. Count yourself lucky. I don't care to see you die today. Are you going to help? I don't intend to carry on my shoulders or kill Samael for you."
Yep. So again, he does not
tell
Rand his name. He does not introduce himself to Rand, but we, the reader, know who he is because he does introduce himself or tell Mogedian what to call him at the beginning of this book when he takes control over Korsuvra.
My disconnect here is I get that. We know who Moradin is.
Yes.
And we know who Rand is.
Yes.
but I don't remember any description from their interaction in Shatter Logoth to tell us explicitly that it's Morden. I guess it's inferred because the man uses Balefire and Rand doesn't sense him channeling.
Well, and not only that, I mean, like, okay, so this is definitely a situation where it'll be a little bit more clear in the show, and maybe I read it a little bit wrong. But if I remember correctly, he is just himself in Shadow Logoth. So there wouldn't be any reason that the reader wouldn't know that it's Moradin.
But there's not a description. He's just described as a random strange man that's there for a very brief time that uses Balefire. There is the hint, like more Shoddy brought up, that the Balefire looks slightly different. But from my recollection, and I could very well be wrong and missing part of it, but there's nothing that happens in the scene then or in A Crown of Swords that tells us that the stranger that shows up to help Rand is Morden. And
okay, I
have
think,
this.
Sorry, I actually think you're correct as far as it does not. In the show, you'll immediately be able to tell that it's Moradin because they look the same.
Yeah, depending on how they do
book,
it. Yeah.
You're right. As far as I think they do actually give you enough information, which is why I knew it was Moradin. But I think you're correct that they do not actually give a physical description.
Yeah, I think you can figure it out because whenever you meet Morden, like his interactions with Mogideon reveals that he has access to the true power.
Yes, and so as I said, you get enough of a description to know as the reader. But I think you're correct that it. But
when the stranger shows up, I don't think they spend any time talking about what he looks like, what he's wearing. If anything, it's very broad. Like it's and the stranger Rand doesn't recognize. He channels. Rand realizes that he can't sense him channeling. He can't feel it. He can't see his weaves. That the Balefire looks slightly different. So you can put two and two together. Like, all right, who's the guy that we finally met in the first part of the series or the first part of the book, and who's this random stranger that pulled up? I mean, you can fantasy. I don't want to say cliche, but you can fantasy storyline typicality it out.
Yes.
But there's nothing to expressly tell anybody that, hey, this is Morden. So for those of you that have only read through this part and just had that potentially spoiled for you, we are 50 to 60% sorry because it is something that, if you keep in mind the first part of the book, you can very easily surmise it by the time it happens.
Yeah. And actually, again, definitely, our spoiler warning only went to the end of book 7, which is understood.
Yeah,
and appreciated.
Which is the book we're
on. Yeah. You figure it out so soon after that if you just had that spoiled, start reading book 8. And it will no longer be spoiled.
Yeah, it's pretty early on. Pretty early on,
but
enough stuff is there to where if you still don't realize it,
yes,
then all you got to do is honestly, literally think harder about it.
Yeah, and again, legitimately sorry if I ruined anything for anybody who is not past book 7, because it is sort of a reveal, a little bit, but. As stated, it's a very, very quick reveal.
If I really need to, I can go back and be like, hey, guys, Andrew here. Quick warning, spoilers for book 8.
That's fair.
For the next amount of time, whatever. But so yeah, that happens. And I remember the scene because the stranger disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Rand doesn't know where he's at anymore. And then Rand gets faced with the crucial decision: do I Balefire Samael that I can see and I know where he's at, or the Aiel maiden that I abandoned that is currently suffering in Mashadar's tentacle?
And he does decide both, but not in like a good both. It's a pretty shit both.
I mean, he hits her with Balefire.
Yeah.
And then he turns, and I think he hits where Samael was with Balefire. Does he?
Well, yeah, he hits her, And then before Samael can even really react, he swings a way bigger fucking pillar of it
Oh
over
yeah.
where Samael was. And it is definitely described as, um, he like has a little bit of a question there as to whether he
Leah.
got Samael.
Leah is her name.
Leah, yes, indeed. But it's also a situation where I
Oh wait, no,
didn't
he doesn't
feel
even
like
read Balefire.
Samael was coming
He doesn't
back.
even read Balefire because when he looks back, the whole front of the palace that he saw Samael in is covered in Mashadar. And he's like, I would have felt it if he had opened a gateway to escape, so he must be dead.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he turns back to go to Balefire and he's like, it's not worth it. I didn't feel him gateway away or anything like that. And Mashadar's everywhere. He must be absolutely dead. Because then he's
Yeah.
like, okay, I need time to think. And then he skims back to Ilion.
Yep.
Because he skims back to the throne room in Ilion, pops in, says Samael is dead. Deshiva sighs, lets out a loud sigh and there's relief. And then Lord Gregorin Din Lucianos, which I'm sure I butchered. Lucianos, however you say it. Speaking for the Council of Nine and offers Rand Ilion and the Crown of Swords to Rand. Yeah. And there's a guy that disappeared, all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah. So Morshadi posted screenshots like I was talking about, like when he realizes that the stranger used Balefire as well, but Rand never felt Sidene when it was used.
No, here it is. So the answer is both of us are actually kind of right, which is why both of us remember this sort of ever mildly differently. More shoddy, again, with the thing. For less than a heartbeat, the shape of her still seemed to be hang in the air, all in stark blacks and snowy whites, and then she was gone, dead before her agony began. Screaming, Rand swept the balefire down toward the square. The rubble collapsing on itself swept down death out of time, and let Sidene go before the bar of white touched the lake of Mashadar. So he does do the thing where
and let it go.
Exactly. So he does
if he
swing
had
it
hit
down.
Mashadar with it and Samael wasn't there, it would bring Samael back to life.
Maybe
because he would erase. He would have with as much balefire as he was using, it would have erased the actions of Mashadar and brought Samael back if Mashadar did in fact kill Samael.
I am not saying that is wrong in any way, shape, or form, but also I don't think Mashadar follows the same laws of anything in the Wheel of Time as anything else.
Still a part of the pattern, still has a thread, and Balefire burns back the thread.
Does it?
Yep.
Does
confirmed. Everything that is sentient and not sentient has been confirmed to have a thread in the pattern. So,
well, except never. Okay, yeah, fair.
Are you insinuating that Mashadar exists outside of the pattern?
No,
because it kind of feels like you are.
No. That's not the thing. It's just that the two things that don't actually react to the power and whatnot, the way that normal things do would be Mashadar and Machin Shin. And so while I think that you're probably correct that they do actually have threads in the pattern, they react so differently to the power that I don't know 100% whether Balefire would have the exact same effect on them as anything else. Because otherwise, why the fuck wouldn't you just Balefire the shit out of Machin Shin?
So maybe if the Balefire
for
hit
example,
those appendages that had taken Samael out, it would have reversed what those appendages had done.
Possibly. And that's, again,
when do they use Balefire against Machin Shin?
They don't. But again, they use other forms of the power on Machin Shin, and it doesn't react like anything else.
Oh,
It like
okay. I
starts
got you. I got you.
eating the power and like fucking like turns Moraine's staff to like a fucking burned a husk of whatever. So again, it's just that they don't react the same way as basically everything else reacts to the power. Therefore, I am not convinced that Machin Shin or Mashadar would actually react the same way to Balefire, being that Balefire is created via the power.
Well, maybe that's a good idea for the next episode.
Maybe.
Like more Shadi suggested, the
Indeed.
nature of Mashadar.
Indeed.
Maybe we'll see what happens next week.
Yep, and
yeah.
there you go. At the end of this particular book, we did actually make it through 3, which is awesome. They coronate Rand as the first, as the king of Ilion, which is actually the first time that Rand actually takes a crown in the books. Every other time he has not taken a crown. It's also interesting because I think only one other place has offered it to him, and he was like, nah, fuck that.
I mean, it's also interesting because they don't offer it to him because he killed their now previous leader. They offer it and want him to be king. I mean, that is part of it. The vacancy is now open because of what he did.
Well,
but
and
they mainly want him to be king because he sent grain from Tyr.
Yes, no. There was a bunch of good things that he did
for
like, the country.
You were the one person from one of our longest standing rivalries to show us a kindness in a time of need.
Yep.
And we feel that you'll be fair to the people. We think you'll make a good king, and you're the Dragon Reborn.
Yes.
And you just killed, I don't know who the Samael guy is, but it sounds like he's the fucking wacko that came in and took over and was actually a Forsaken, so you did a good deed.
Well, it's actually interesting because if I remember correctly, and this, real quick, this is actually kind of important. This is going to be minor spoilers for Book 8. So if you haven't read Book 8, wait until you're about halfway through to listen to this part. But everybody's like, where is Matt and Stepaneos? Because they're pretty sure it's not Samael that was Matt and Stepaneos. But they're also like, where the fuck did Matten go? He's our king. What the fuck? And so it's this weird little additional thing that I actually really appreciate in the story, that like really he again, they make it relatively clear that Samael was not Matten. But they also have no idea where Matten went. They're like, did Samael kill him? Did he just go somewhere and disappear? Like, it's super weird that you never really get an answer on what happened to Matt and Stepaneos. But yes, there is a vacancy in the palace, and Rand was good to them and the Dragon Reborn, and he finally is like, you are actually offering me the crown for good reason and for the right reasons. So I am actually going to take this particular crown because I think that this one I deserve, basically. And it's nice. And it's the one that is made up of a lot of little swords in a ring, which is why the book's called Crown of Thorns.
Yeah. Because you don't find out what happened to him until actually you don't find out until book 11. Book 11, chapter 2 is when you find out what happened with Matt and Stepaneos.
Yes.
So we're not going to spoil that.
Many books before you know.
Many books where you find out what happens to him. But yeah. So Rand's transformation from Fires of Heaven through Crown of Swords. I mean, we're still seeing the going mad Rand, but there seems to be some slight glimmers of hope that he'll maintain some kind of sanity when we finish Fires of Heaven. And then chapter 55 of Lord of Chaos happens. And any hope you had is gone, because he comes out of the box very steeled, very, very much against the Aes Sedai, very much distrusting of most people, very much because he spent his entire time in the box trying to steel himself against everything that happens. So the last glimmers of hope that Rand is going to maintain a soft sanity, like a soft and caring nature of any kind and any kind of sanity, is gone
Yeah, it's
by the
pretty
time
much
he
out the window.
emerges. I mean, it's gone before chapter 55. It's gone almost as soon as he goes in the box. But without a doubt, Rand emerges from the box, and we talked about this before when we talked about Demise Wells, when we talked about Lord of Chaos, that when people refer to Darth Rand, it is that Darth Rand that emerges from the box in chapter 55. This is full-fledged, full-on Darth Rand. I must be hard. I must be steel. I can't trust. Like, this is
I
like,
wouldn't agree with that.
that's
He
fine.
actually has a
you can be
lot
as wrong
more,
as you want.
he has a lot more down the path to going ahead and getting there. Because again,
He
when he
goes
comes out of the
worse, but
box
he's
and he
still dark.
decides, I'm going to become Darth Rand. But he's not Darth Rand until later when he makes decisions that are horrifying to people.
He makes decisions out of the box that are horrifying to people. Rand comes out of the box full-fledged vengeance, anger, and they must learn. And I can't trust anybody.
Well, we're just going to have to not agree on that.
I mean, yeah, fine. I mean, that's fine. For me, at least, then chapter 55 is where Darth Rand initially emerges. He does get worse. In the same ways that Darth Vader gets worse. You know, episode 3 is where Darth Vader literally appears.
Well, and as I said, I think that coming out of the box is Anakin killing the Sand People. He's not actually Darth Vader yet.
I think it's
but
Anakin
he does
killing
do
the
some.
younglings.
Yeah, I would not compare those two things.
I mean, that's fine.
As for me, like, that's the progression.
For me, that's the birth of Darth Rand, because it's that Rand for me that comes out and is able, capable, and willing to make those decisions that lead to the atrocities and things that happen later on. I think that the things he does later on that you guys will read if you haven't read already, if Rand had been given the option to do those when he came out of the box, they would have happened when he came out of the box.
Oh, see, I totally, I'm not on board with that. But that's okay. That is a discussion for another time. Probably later on when we start talking about those decisions, when we do our next segment on Rand, because we're going to probably skate through. Well, Path of Daggers will probably take a second, and then we'll just skate right through Winter's Heart and Crossroads of Twilight. And we'll just pop right into the next one.
Because there's not that much from. I mean, there's some events and stuff we have to touch on, of course.
Yes.
In Winter's Heart and Crossroads of Twilight, but it's not really going to take up a ton of time.
No.
So,
indeed.
It probably won't be until we start getting into the last 3 that we're really going to be slowed down on pushing through and getting through stuff.
It's true.
But
though, I will say that we have talked a hell of a lot about the last battle, so we can basically skip that portion of it. And we can just talk about where, what's going on with characters.
Yeah. That's why I kind of like this format that we kind of pseudo-adopted here, where hey, this is what briefly happens in the overall of the book. Here's the kind of key points from Rand. And
here's a discussion about some of those finer points. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Maybe in the following discussions, maybe I'll be converted and be like, you know what, that wasn't fully Darth Rand, or maybe you'll be converted.
Maybe I will. Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
That's the beauty of the Black Tower. We stand together even when we don't stand on exactly the same platform. But sometimes, and with actually some regularity at this point, somebody in the Black Tower decides to hop platforms.
Yeah. I mean, the more and more you talk about stuff, and the more comfortable you get, the more you're willing to voice your disagreements with different aspects. I mean, I'd say the three of us are pretty comfortable with each other with talking about the Wheel of Time by now.
Yeah.
But it's good though, because like, it brings in different perspectives, different points of view, different thoughts about the thing, and that's kind of at least half the reason why I think we do this is to talk about it. And we talked about this before. We don't want to just sit here with echo chamber. I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why we love having live listeners is, hey, we said this is what we think, and many a times we've had live listeners say something different, and like, I never thought about it that way. Like thinking about it like that, yeah, I would disagree with my own point at least in part,
Yep.
but yeah. So, oh, is there anything else about how Rand is by the end of Crossroads? Not Crossroads of Twilight, a Crown of Swords. Um, that we need to touch on before we start bringing this to an end.
I don't think so. I actually think that's pretty solid on the events. And again, I say that mostly knowing that we've talked about certain events, certain characters, certain things so much in other episodes that, again, I don't just want to rehash those episodes, as I'm sure you don't either. And so I think that's basically Rand in enough of a nutshell to, again, do a character dive on him and the events that affect him.
I mean, we did skim over Cat Swain.
Yeah, I feel like this early on, Cad Swain doesn't actually have that much of an effect on Rand. She definitely starts to play a much bigger part later.
Yeah, because the only big thing that happens so far, I think, is she goes in and intentionally pisses him off.
Yeah.
To see like what she feels would be his true nature.
Yeah, which is important. I'm certainly not saying that that's not anything.
He's very combative, but also very restrained. Like, he doesn't take physical action against her.
Yes, well, and her first decision with Rand, her first impression is crap as far as Rand is concerned. So,
yeah,
but I think that is. I am going to say personally that is a good, solid segment on Fires of Heaven through Crown of Swords on Rand and his goings on. Are you happy with that, Senor Andrew?
Yeah, we didn't have 3 hosts today, but we got through 3 books. So,
indeed,
it just leaves 7 more to go through.
Correct.
At least 2 of which will go by relatively quickly. Not that we want to just rush and get through Rand, but
yes,
like we said before, we don't want to like drag on a character dive longer than it needs to be, because as you guys know, once we finish with Rand, there's at least 1 episode left that to come that will address that we'll do a deep dive on
the
his relationship.
Riders.
Yeah. A deep dive on the Dragon Riders. This is by no means saying that it's Josh's fault that we only ever get through like 2 books.
No, because there was one day where Josh wasn't with us and it was just the 2 of us and we still only made it through 2.
Yeah. But I mean, I think doing it like this, where we do a brief overview of what happens in the books we've slotted to cover for the episode, and then talk about, partially as we're going through it, and then overall, like how Rand changes, how Rand transforms, what's important. Because once we hit like Crossroads of Twilight, we can talk about how Rand has transformed from Eye of the World all the way through Crossroads of Twilight. So,
yep,
yeah. But yeah, I feel pretty comfortable to where we're leaving this off right now.
Good. I'm glad. That is important. Like, as long as everyone's
literally the halfway point of the series,
basically. So cool. Yeah. If you missed some of the things that we talked about in this episode because you have not gotten a chance to go ahead and listen to earlier episodes, be they, the episode that we did on Dumais Wells, the episodes that we've done on the different book reviews, the episodes, all of those different things, definitely go check out Podbean. We are at podbean.com/blacktower.
No, blacktowerpod.podbean.com.
Blacktowerpod.podbean.com. That's right. It's so many different weird orders.
But you can get to it pretty easily by just going to blacktowerpod.com.
Also correct.
Which is our website.
Yes, pop on over there, say hi. We actually have some awesome forums. One of our strong, independent, don't need no man listeners has already run naked through the forums and laid down some foundation for some stuff, which is great. We will also be putting, different ones up for this episode, as well as some other fun topics. So go check that out. There's also event information for our forthcoming a month from today, sort of. Yeah, actually, a month from today. Main event is a month from today.
Yeah. Main event day is literally 1 month from today. We're still going to do a live stream for everybody to push out all the information we need to.
Yep.
There's been some kind of last minute changes and stuff we are and aren't going to do, how we are and aren't going to do it. I think we've pretty much got
the vast majority of this stuff is still, what's been posted and such. They're really only minor changes, but they are definitely things people should know about.
If there's not a live stream by the end of this weekend, there will be some stuff posted definitely in the Discord, and we'll try to get it tweeted out and stuff. So that way, now that we're a literal calendar month out, by the time you're listening to this, a little under a calendar month out, that way the links and stuff will be out there for people to go ahead and start doing what they need to do as far as coordinating stuff and all. I mean, the getting there, the travel logistics and everything, you guys already know everything you need to know for that. If you want to attend physically, you already know it's going to be in Ogden, Utah, that it's going to be kind of from the 16th through the 18th ish. And we'll expand on that when we announce more of the kind of how we envision things going and the time frame for that. But that should be more than sufficient for you to plan any kind of driving or flying or anything you might need to do, as well as finding lodging around there. Because we can't currently, say hey, we have rooms reserved or something like that, because we don't.
Correct.
And that's part of why we're able to offer the event free of attendance. Obviously minus your normal travel expenses.
Yep.
So,
but definitely come on out. If you have already planned some stuff, let us know, because there is now an RSVP system, which everyone should have already seen, and we will.
Not necessarily. It's only been put in the Discord,
and we will make it more obvious as things go on.
That's one of the things. If there's not a live stream by the end of this coming weekend, if there's not a live stream detailing everything with links by the 20th of September 2020, then we will make sure that at least the links get out there to everybody to look at and do what needs to be done. Because like Daniel said, there's an RSVP requirement, legal requirements mandate that we have to make this a closed/private event, which means you have to RSVP because you have to have a ticket, because then we can say it's a private invite-only event, which I think Facebook event already says.
Yes.
Which, if you haven't seen that, you can get to our Facebook, our Twitter, our YouTube, and our Instagram page from blacktowerpod.com. If you're on the computer, just look in the bottom left. It moves and scrolls with you as you scroll up and down the page, at least the homepage. And if you click on any of those links, it takes you there. If you're looking at the Facebook event and you want to click hey, I'm going, that's not your RSVP, but it helps us with numbers.
Yes, and we should then be able to respond to that and get you an RSVP form and all of that good stuff. But yeah,
by the 20th, all those links will be out there for everybody to post, whether we're able to do a live stream for you or not. Because we don't want to put it out 2 weeks prior and suddenly you're rushing to fill out forms and stuff. I mean, it's not a very long form. Mainly, it's your email, your name. Are you going to be there physically, or are you trying to attend virtually? And especially if you're there physically, do you have any food allergies? So that way we don't serve somebody shrimp that's allergic to shrimp. So
correct.
But it's there, as well as a certain contest form that is chiefly related to alcohol consumption. Social security number, mother's maiden name,
name of your first pet, the street you grew up on,
your favorite teacher, your childhood best friend. Just the normal event type questions.
Yeah, exactly.
So, by the 20th of September 2020, all the links that you need to RSVP and everything will be out, as well as at least a brief overview of what to expect on the 17th. So,
Indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's pretty much it. You can also get to our Patreon and our merch store from blacktowerpod.com.
It's actually really nice that we now have a website that has all of that stuff, because we still want to mention it and whatnot. You can just get to it so easily from the blacktower.com. Blacktowerpod.com.
There's all kinds of things. There's the forums, there's the merch store, there's a link to the Discord, there's a subscribe button for Black Tower Podcast. There's a never-ending, it'll show like the last 5 episodes there, where you can literally listen to the episode right from blacktowerpod.com, as well as like I already said, the forums that you can go in and you can talk with everybody else out and create a profile of that, all that fun stuff, as well as become a patron if you are so inclined. So, yeah, and in the forums, more Shadi runs around naked. So,
correct. So look out for that. But I think that is it for us for today. We will be back next week, hopefully, with all 3 of our compatriots. And we will go ahead and be talking about, who fucking knows? Maybe it'll be the nature of Mashadar. We'll figure it out. As you can see, we have our show topics planned for many weeks in advance.
We'll see if we can fit it in the schedule of all of our planned stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. All of our plans.
Hold on.
Every single one of them.
What is next Wednesday? I can actually tell you that will not be the topic next Wednesday.
Oh yeah, we
have something else planned. So we're going to be chatting with some dark friends such as ourselves, that kind of stuff.
Indeed.
It's already been kind of teased by 1 or 2 people. So, yeah. So
yeah,
maybe on
check it out.
30th that'll be the topic. We'll see.
We'll see. Awesome.
But yeah. So, as I know Daniel is getting to, from those of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, we love you guys. We appreciate the absolute living hell out of you. We hope that you're enjoying the episodes. If you have some criticism or some opinion you want to say, make sure you can reach out to us via email, blacktowerpod@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Twitter @TowerPodcast. You can either tweet at us or DM us. All that fun stuff. And of course, there's Discord. Let us know what you do and don't like. And as always, feel free to correct us on stuff we got wrong, because that happens literally all the fucking time. But we love you guys. We love you live listeners. Thank you so much to our Patreons that help support what we do here. And we're glad that we're able to let you guys come into the live recordings when schedules allow for all of us. And if you want to be part of the live recordings, hit it up. Patreon, literally $1 a month. You can come in and you can listen to live recordings and chat with us and try to distract us on tangents as much as you want, which definitely doesn't happen. But with all that said and done, with all the shameless plugs said and done, go check out thegreatblight.com as well.
Oh yeah, fucking duh.
Yeah. We love you guys, and we will see you all next week. And for this week and many weeks in the future, as far as I'm aware, I have been Andrew, your Bajan Mael.
And until they make me change my name for a career that I don't have yet, I am Daniel, your Aman Khan Mahale. And in case we don't, hi everybody. We hope that you're having a good morning. And in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.